guys, welcome back to Spankys. Thanks for coming out in the garage with me. Today we're going to talk about wheels. Last time we talked about tires, how old they were, how old the tires are on your car, and how to tell. But today we're going to talk about the wheels that those tires are mounted on. What size are they? You may think that they're 8-inch, they could be 7s. You may think that they're 7s, but they could be 8s. I'll show you how you can tell with your tires on and without your tires being on. How to measure a wheel at a swap meet, just in case you think about buying it. Will it fit your car? Will it stick out? Will it go in too far? Stick around. Let's learn something together.
Let's dive into this and let's see what we can come up with. All right, right here, I know that I've got a wheel. It's at a swap meet. It's laying on the ground. There's no identification on it whatsoever as far as stampings. The guy selling the wheel says that it is a 16 by 5.5 and it came off of a 32 Ford. Well, we need to check that to make sure. All right, so let's measure this wheel across the lip right here. All right, it is measuring from edge to edge. If you had to have a box to put this wheel in, it is measuring 5 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I can see where he got 5 1/2. All right, if we go measure the wheel inside, it is measuring 4 1/2. All right, this is the area that you actually measure your wheel from. Inside the bead area, where the tire touches the wheel, where the bead locks right there, not on the outside. If this was an aluminum wheel, it would probably even measure 6 1/4 because it would even be thicker here. All right, so he didn't tell us that it was a 17.5-inch wheel, so he automatically knew that it was a 16-inch wheel. So the wheel is not measured the whole entire length of the wheel. It's only measured where the bead of the tire touches the wheel. That's not where you measure the wheels. So automatically we know that the guy selling the wheel as a 5 1/2, or the guy online selling the wheel as a 5 1/2, made a mistake in how he measured it. All right, let's spin this wheel around this way. By the way, these wheels right here are going to go on the 36 Ford pickup truck that you guys have been helping me on. So it's going to be fun. We're going to put these on. I got these at a swap meet. All right, back to the wheel. Right here on the bottom and down on the other side. And we measured that. That is 16 inches. All right, he knew that because he took the tires off. All right, another way that you can measure this is with some rim width calipers. Now, these are not an off-the-shelf product. You can buy them new. They usually come with a tire machine balancer combo. And if you measure it with these, it usually comes up really close to what you're doing. And in this case, it comes up to 4.5 or 4 1/2 inches. All right, so these are made to where they're going to go around a steel wheel. If this was an aluminum wheel and it was a little bit thicker, these may have come up on a 5 because the wheel was a little thicker. But no matter what, if the tire is off and you measure it inside of the bead area, that is how wide your tire is. Now, I know exactly 16 by 4 1/2 because this wheel has actually got a part number on the back side of it. I knew the manufacturer. All I had to do was Google that part number, and it came up with exactly what I needed to know. All right, the next thing that you're going to need to know is your back spacing, and what the back spacing is from the flange area where it will touch your brakes to the outside lip, meaning the area. So you can do it like this. Put a straight edge on it. Make sure it's touching. Measure it from the point to where it's going to be touching. And that is measuring 1 3/4 inches, which is exactly what the wheel website told me it was. All right, so if it had a tire on it, I've got some of these made up. They're in my toolbox. It's just a piece of aluminum. I ran it through the bead roller, ran it through the brake, made it stiff to where it's not going to bend on me. And this is actually for a 15 inch wheel. But if it had a tire on it, it would fit right up against the wheel, something like that right there. And now I've got an edge to measure it to. So that is a way you can do it. Now, it's going to be hard to carry this around the swap meet all the time, so you're just going to have to do it, however you can come up with. One of the most important things to do is know your boat pattern. Now, this is pretty lucky here. It is a dual drilled boat pattern. I've got these gauges right here, which are marked in all different shapes and sizes. We've got Chevy and Ford right here. This is the most used one I've got. 5 on 4 3/4, 5 on 4 1/2. It just fits inside here just like the stud would. That's my Chevy boat pattern right there, and I flip it over to the smaller boat pattern, and that's my, see how it lines up? Just goes right in those holes just like that. So now I know that this is 5 on 4 3/4 and 5 on 4 1/2. All right, in just a second I'm going to show you how to measure your boat pattern. But we're going to look at another wheel real quick. All right, now here's an aluminum wheel. And let's see what it's going to measure. 7 inches from inside of the bead to the other side of the bead. All right, if we measure it like this, this guy would have said at a swap meet that it is a 15 by 8 mag wheel, and it came off of a Chevy. All right, he didn't know, but that's what his brother told him to sell him as. All right, so you don't know, you're taking his word for it. So now you think you've got a 15 by 8 and it's for a Chevy, but you really have a 15 by 7, and it's not for a Chevy, because there's a Chevy boat pattern right there, and we can see that that's, well, there's a Chevy boat pattern, and we can see, you can zoom in, that is not fitting. All right, so let's put it on the Ford boat pattern, and it goes right in the slot. All right, if you didn't have these, and those are available, you can get you one of these. That fits in your pocket a whole lot better, and it just slides back and forth, and it'll center up just like that, and it'll tell us that it's 5 on 4 1/2. Or if you're looking at a rear end that somebody's got for sale and you don't know whether it came out of a Ford or Chevy, it also will slide over your studs, just like if you had a stud. I'll show you that in a second. All right, the next cheapest thing you can buy is this little thing right here, and this happens to be plastic. You can also get them in paper where you can fold them, but you'll just line up all the holes on the back, spin it around till you find your hole, and voila, 5 on 4 1/2. So there's a few ways that you can measure that. Now you know how to measure the back spacing, and now you know how to measure the wheel in diameter. And let me show you this one here. It being aluminum, it's going to probably register. All right, so now this guy's telling you that it was a 16 by 8, when in reality it is a 15 from this edge right here to that edge down there. I get it centered right. 15 by 7 instead of a 16 by 8. Happens all the time. It happened to a friend of mine, and that's why we're making this video, is to educate you just a little bit so that you won't fall victim like he did. And then, of course, on the back spacing, this one being a wide wheel like it is, we'll measure this back spacing here from the mounting flange to the edge, inside edge right here. and that is measuring 4 1/4. So it's a 15 by 7 with a 4 1/4 inch back spacing. So that means that most of the wheel goes in. The center line of the wheel is closer to the outside, which is perfect for all of your Fairlanes, Comets, Mercury, small cars, Novas, Camaros, Chevelles. The Chevelle, of course, can use an 8-inch wheel. So I'll show you how to do that on another video. There's more details to that. All right, let's spin this camera around. I'm going to show you this axle down here, and I'm going to show you how you can measure the axle if you didn't have any of these tools. So we go to the swap meet, and we're looking for a rear end for our car, and we need to make sure that the bolt pattern is the proper bolt pattern for the axle. So we find a 9-inch Ford rear end, and you want to assume that it's a Ford bolt pattern, but nowadays things have been used so much that they could have slid Chevy axles in it, aftermarket axles, re-drilled the bolt pattern. There's so many adapters and stuff nowadays, you can't never be for sure. So if your basic tools to carry to a swap meet, if you carry a tape measure, then this is how you're going to do it. Let's say that if it's a 6-lug wheel and it's got even studs, 6-lug, 8-lug, how you measure it that way is you go across from one stud to the stud directly across from it, and this is a 5-lug wheel, so this is not doing it proper for this wheel. You would measure from the center of the stud to the center of the stud. With this being an odd number, you cannot measure the boat circle by going from the center of the stud to the center of the stud. The proper way to measure this is hang your tape measure on the outside edge of one stud, skip a stud right here, and go to the next stud and measure to the center. And that is showing that it is 5 on 4 3/4. So we know that this is a 5 on 4 3/4 boat circle. Now this measurement is showing 4 3/4. The 5 comes from the fact that it's a 5-lug axle or 5-lug wheel. The 5, that's the only thing the 5 represents. The number after that is your measurement of your studs. 5 on 4 3/4. So that's how you measure boat patterns with a tape measure that you're going to carry around in your pocket. Of course, I said a while ago, the handy gauges that you can get, that'll tell you exactly what it is, 5 on 4 3/4. The paper one that you can fold up in your pocket that's got all the holes on it, 5 on 4 3/4. Of course, all the holes are drilled different, so it's not going to work on anything else. And then, of course, you've got these right here that would slide over the lugs and tell you what they are. Some of these things you don't want to carry in your pocket, some of them you do. So guys, never go to a swap meet if you're looking for anything where you don't take a tape measure, a ruler, or something to make some measurements on. Well guys, as always, thanks for coming out in the shop and helping today. I hope you got something out of today's video. We've got so much more to learn about wheels and tires in more episodes to come. As you know, I was in the wheel and tire business for about 25 years prior to getting into the hot rod business. So I've learned a lot. I've lost a lot of memory on some of that stuff. So I'm relearning some of this as I go along with you, the stuff that I don't use every day. And I hope that something that you learned today will save you some money in the future and keep you from maybe making a mistake on buying something that doesn't fit your car. So with that said, if you guys are through watching, head on over to SpankysHotRods.com, pick you up some merch and help support the channel. And as always, get out in the garage and go build something. See you in the next episode.